Okay, today on Indicator TV we welcome Kate Tilton, an author assistant since 2010, host of Kate Chat, a Twitter chat for readers and authors. She's a cat lover, and a book and a library geek extraordinaire, and I found out the other day she also likes Lego. So welcome, Kate.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so tell us, what's an author assistant?
So an author assistant is someone who gives authors extra hours in their day. We do this by doing tasks that need to be done but don't necessarily need to be done by the author. So that can be anything from running to the post office to ship review copies to managing an author's email.
Cool. So does that mean that the author sends you copies, or how does that work?
Yeah, usually when I'm sending review copies, the author will send me a box of books.
Oh, cool.
And then, I'm in charge of shipping them to individual reviewers.
Excellent. So why does an author then need an assistant?
So not all authors need an assistant. I find the authors that do need an assistant are the ones that don't have enough time to do everything that needs to be done for their career. So when you get to the point where you're literally, saying, okay, I don't have time to write because I have to do all this stuff, it's time to look at hiring an assistant.
Okay. So on top of the ones that you already mentioned, what other duties does an author assistant do?
There are so many. So it can be from uploading blog posts or keeping track of reviews and street teams. It could be brainstorming with the author on story ideas. In some cases, it could be helping them manage their website and keeping their social media profiles up to date. It depends on the author.
Okay, interesting. How can an assistant benefit an author then, besides the time saving?
Yeah, so the time saving thing is a really important part. But I find assistants can also be great sounding boards, and that could be from anything from going over story ideas to talking an author off a ledge.
Oh, gosh.
We all have bad days. It's just part of life, and I think, as writers, especially when you're putting your work out there for critique, getting a bad review can really be bad day making. So having an assistant, it can kind of be someone that's there who understands and can kind of talk you down from, that ledge of, I can't be a writer, no one likes me.
Oh. That's so cool. And you'd find out little tidbits about books before the reader does.
Yes, it's true. Sometimes I get a beta read books for authors, or even kind of just throw ideas at them until they say, okay, I'm going to do that. And I'll be like, yes, do it.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. Pretty nice job.
Yeah, I bet it would be. What sort of qualities should an author look for in an assistant?
Organization. So I always say you want an assistant who has epic organizational skills. Your assistant needs to be able to manage multiple things at once and prioritize these things. Most assistants are going to be working with more than one author, so you really need to have good time management skills and organization to be able to manage that and give you good quality work. I also say that the second thing you want to look for is personality. You want someone you're going to get along with well. You're going to be working together, long term, and it's in a partnership. So you really need to have someone that you get along with and who you trust.
Great advice. What are the prices to hire an assistant?
Prices vary. So my current rate is $35 an hour. That's changed from the past. And it usually changes with experience. The longer you are, the more skills you get, and therefore the more you charge. So I know some assistants that will offer lower prices than that. Usually those assistants are the ones who are just starting out, so more people that are in college who are interning. And I know some people that charge more than that. Some even charge significantly more than that, depending on their expertise.
Wow.
So I always suggest that, you take the time, I would say, look up virtual assistants, because author assistant is usually a subdivision of being a virtual assistant. So there's a lot of good information out there about virtual assistants, including pricing and why people price at the rates they do. 35 is considered a pretty standard rate because of all the things that, we have to pay for as assistants.
Interesting. I'm going to throw in an extra question here, so I apologise. Have you ever had bonuses or arrangements where if you help the author sell more, that you get some sort of a bonus or an extra rate?
I personally haven't. We call that like spec work. So, I mean, there are opportunities to do that kind of work. For me personally, I decided that I'm just only going to take by the hour, by the project work.
That's fair enough.
So because, as an assistant doing this full time, this is my job. So if I don't make a certain amount of money, then I don't have enough money to pay for the food that I need to eat.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very important that I have a rate. I do the $35 an hour. I do offer a lower rate of $30 an hour for clients that commit to 3 months with 10 or more hours per month.
Mm-hmm.
There are some assistants that do similar, we call it like bundling deals like that. But I've never done any spec work before.
Okay, I'd be interested to find out about that. Can you share any tips to finding an assistant?
I always tell authors if they're looking for an assistant, they should ask other authors. Getting a personal referral to an assistant is a great way to know that you get someone who's going to do good work for you. You can also check out free resources like Authors Atlas. So I know they have a whole author's assistant category on there. There's also authorassistants.com.
Oh, wow. Got its own website.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different websites out there where you can go and you can inquire about different assistants. But my first recommendation is ask your author friends, because if any of them are working with an assistant who has the ability to take on more authors, you already know that they're going to give you good work and you don't have to test it out.
That's a good point too, and you won't have to go and contact 10 assistants to find out if they've need any extra work too.
Yes.
Have you got any advice on any wannabe author assistants out there?
Well, I'm actually currently working on a series for people who want to become author assistants.
Cool.
I'll say stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter.
Cool.
That is coming. It will be, audio and text based, so it should be very helpful for people that are interested in being an author assistant, and for authors who are curious about what an author assistant is, what we can do, and why they might want to hire someone.
Excellent. Now, this is a bonus question too, but you run, as I mentioned before in the bio, you run a Twitter chat called Kate Chat, where you invite on sort of different authors and readers. Can you tell us a bit about that and how it benefits authors?
Okay, so K-Chat was designed as a place for authors and readers to connect. I had been part of many different Twitter chats before, and I was finding that each one seemed to be only for authors or only for readers. And I wanted to make a chat that was for both. So K-Chat was born. I found joining in K-Chat is a great way for authors to connect with other authors and readers, your audience, in other words. I've also even had an author and a marketer connect on K-Chat and start their own business.
Wow.
So it's a pretty amazing community, and it's really, really grown around the chat. I'm very excited that it's still growing strong after a year.
Yeah, I did it a few months ago, and I was really impressed with the turnout. Like, so many questions I could hardly keep up with answering. And
yes, just the last K-Chat we had the We Need Diverse Books team join us, and it was crazy. Lots of fun. They did a soft launch of their Indiegogo campaign, which is really just astonishing how much they're raising for their work that they're doing.
Well, I've never heard of them. What do they do?
So, We Need Diverse Books is to kind of raise awareness to the fact that we need diversity in books. They're also doing things like offering grants to diverse writers, trying to make resources for schools, so teachers and librarians. So they got a lot of great stuff, especially if you are either a diverse author or write about diverse characters. It's really something you should check out.
Oh, cool. I've read so many articles about that, and even when I have been looking at literary agent profiles, all of them seem to want diverse characters, which is interesting. Something I'd never thought of in my writing, so...
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I am a white female, so I'm very represented in literature, but not everyone either is well represented, or you find that the books that are published just people don't know about. So We Need Diverse Books focuses on bringing awareness to that we need to publish more books that are like this, and we need to, share them more. But it's a really good team. I find that it focuses, instead of just about diversity in race, it also focuses on diversity in body type, so disabilities, weight. We talked about weight as well. We tend to see a lot of, especially in YA Lit, all the female characters are skinny, small, and that's not how we all are. So that's kind of the mission behind We Need Diverse Books, is getting more books that everyone, can be included.
That's a great aim, actually. And when I must admit, when I first thought of diversity, I did think of race. I didn't even think of body type. But that's really good to bring awareness to that, because you're right. A lot of books, they do have perfect protagonists and gorgeous guys, and
yeah, and it's just not realistic. It's not our world, and as many people that are out there that are gorgeous or thin as a rail, like there are also so many other people that aren't, and that doesn't mean that they are less deserving of having their story told.
I wonder if that's why Bridget Jones was so popular, because she was that average woman.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this is a bonus question number 2. So I noticed you've got a new logo header on your website. It's really awesome, and it complements your brand. For the readers, I'll just say it's got, I forget which letter it is, but you have a picture of yourself with an umbrella, and part of the logo, if it's like an I or a T, I forget, is formed with the umbrella, and it looks really cool. I wanted the listeners to check it out as a good example of branding. Can you share how you came up with it and the concept and who designed it?
Yes, I can. So it is the L, just in case you were wondering.
I knew it was one of those letters, yep.
yeah, it was the L. So the fabulous Mallory Rock is my designer.
Cool.
So I contacted Mallory because I was stressing about having different fonts everywhere. I found the social media images that I had a different font that my website had, and this was stressing me out.
Oh, no.
Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it was stressing me out. So I contacted Mallory about it, and I told her that I basically hired her to do a solid logo, so that I could have something for professional papers, and that I could get the text kind of situated, because that was freaking me out. So I basically, all I told her, was the colors that I liked, the font style I preferred, and I gave her a few things that I've been known for. So umbrella has been a symbol that I've associated with books, cats. So I kind of gave her this, and she just took that information. She came up with a logo that I loved, and she helped me pick a font. So that was a huge relief for me. And originally, I only hired Mallory to make the logo and to update the fonts on my social media illustrations, because she had previously put those together for me. And being the good designer that she is, she told me up front, if you want a strong brand, we should redo everything with the new logo in mind. So she sent me a mock-up of the website banner, and I went for it and haven't looked back since.
It looks great. So you use that logo then, you mentioned, on paperwork, like contracts and things like that, I'm assuming, or letters of welcome to authors and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was, I haven't done it yet. It was designed so that when those things come up, I will have it.
Cool.
Yeah. And so we did a bunch of things. I have my Kate Tilton's book blogger group that got an updated graphic so they could use it on their blogs if they so choose. We updated the GIF interviews that I did. I've been also using the logo in all my social media postings for my blog. So I put a picture for each blog post, and that has the logo on it as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess the reason I brought it up was because I did a bit of work with who you work with, Rachel Thompson, who does Bad Redhead Media, and she was telling me about logos and that sort of thing. And I guess for authors, it's quite important. Like if they have, for me, for example, if I do school visits, I've got to send out invitations and letters to schools. So having a logo, really sort of stands out on a letterhead. I guess for
Yeah.
non-fiction and other authors, if you're, applying for doing a speaking engagement somewhere at a conference or even at a library, professional looking letter looks really great. So
yeah, definitely branding is a very important aspect. I've found that people have seem to think that I have a really good voice. And as being not really an author, I mean, I do writing for my blog and things of that nature, but I don't consider myself, like a writer. I've always found that to be very encouraging when people say, you have a really good voice. I know that you're friendly and, you're very knowledgeable about what you're talking about and all these things. Like, that's great. But having a cohesive, design on all these channels, it makes it very easy for people to recognize, okay, this is Kate Tilton's work, this is her logo. And I have many different things that I'm part of now. I have the book blogger group, I have the website, I have the author assistant work I'm doing. I also launched Kate approved badges for books that I read that I enjoy. So all of this, it has similar designs so that people can see it and say, oh, that's Kate.
Yeah,
and that's really, really important. You want that kind of brand recognition.
Yeah, that's something that Rachel drummed into me, having everything consistent, on social media from Twitter to Facebook and even your blog. So, cool.
Yeah, it's very, very important, and it really does help out in the long run.
Excellent. Well, I hope you start getting, recognised and famous in the author community.
Yeah, people seem to recognize my name, which is very, very awesome and slightly terrifying. I've had people that I know and admire who I didn't really communicate with on any social media platform know who I am when they sign my book, and that was a little bit like, that's so awesome, and that's also terrifying. Like, people are watching me that I don't even know they're watching me.
Isn't that interesting?
And it is. It's very, and I'm sure a lot of authors feel this way when they put themselves and their work out there. You don't know who's paying attention, so good lesson to learn is, really be careful what you put out there. You say one thing, it does stick for life online. So
yes.
It's important to have a consistent visual brand, but also consistent in your voice. So what you're putting out there, if you ever look at any of my social media platforms, you'll find basically everything that I do is positive stuff. And that was a brand choice. I decided that, no one really needs to hear about all the bad days from me, so I was going to promote positive, being positive.
That's really great. I think that a lot of people complain on Facebook, and it's really to turn off for me. So I like that. So
yeah, and it's okay if you have a bad day to let people know. I mean, I don't say nothing all the time, but I think it's very important to kind of realize what you're saying is something that people will see that might not know who you are.
Yeah.
I've done it before where I liked an author's cover, and I went to go see them on Twitter, and it was complaint after complaint after complaint. I left.
Oh.
You don't want to be remembered like that. So even if you're having a really, really bad day, it's good to kind of take a step back from social media, before you post all about it.
Good point. There was a I forget the author's name, and I won't mention it anyway. But recently, she was involved with sort of getting a bit snappy with her followers because they were asking questions, and she was redirecting them to the FAQs, and it sounded a bit snarky and copped her a bit of backlash. So you're right about remembering your brand and your image when you're when you're on social media, because it does stick. People take snapshots, and it can haunt you.
Yes, it definitely stays for life. And I mean, I've worked with authors who have had the same questions asked by readers over and over and over again, even though they were clearly listed on the FAQ page. So it is frustrating. I totally understand why an author would be frustrated, but that's one of the reasons why people hire assistants.
Mm-hmm.
Have an assistant. For one, they can be the person that sends the reader to the FAQ page and says, here's your answers right here.
Mm-hmm.
They can also talk you down from a ledge. If you want to kind of like go off and say, why are you wasting my time with all this? It's right here. Your author assistant could be like, I know how you feel. I understand this is frustrating, but this is why you have me to deal with this. So you're right. Don't let it get to you, because, I mean, some people just don't like to look up stuff. They really don't. They want you to give them the answer outright. And, if you're really going to become a public figure, you're going to have to be open to that and realize that not everyone is going to be, say that, not everyone is going to take the time to dig for answers.
It's annoying, but something you have to deal with.
Yeah, so if people say, like, before you decide to actually publish, you should really think about that. Are you ready to be put in the public eye? Are you ready to deal with that kind of influx of emails, Facebook messaging, Twitter messaging? Not every author is going to get to the point where they get that much fan mail, but some authors do, and for some it seems to happen almost overnight. And you really got to be prepared to kind of handle that, or know who you're going to hire if that becomes the case.
True, and I guess answering all the emails and the social media questions does take a big chunk of time, and that's where people like you come in.
Yeah. Yep. So it really can be helpful. And I mean, personally, I don't do any ghostwriting on social media. I know you can hire author assistants that will, learn your voice, and they'll pretend to be you on social media.
Oh.
Yep. It's a personal thing. I mean, I, as a reader, would be devastated to know that my favorite author wasn't actually tweeting. Like, I'd rather have it be them or have them not do it. So, as a personal choice, I don't do that for authors. I offer social media training for authors, where I kind of take all the crazy social media that seems overwhelming and try to make it less overwhelming, and give you the tools you need to actually manage social media in a way that's effective and not too time consuming. But email management is one of those things where you can have an assistant who can, sign the email under their name, and that works well.
So when you do social media posts and that sort of thing, do you just do posts like updates, like a blog, links to new blog posts or new newsletters, or news if the author's been in an interview or something like that, but you don't do, hi from such and such an author, for example, kind of messages?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the author. Usually what I do with authors is just the training. So I don't actually post anything for the author. I just kind of teach them, here are the tools you should use that make this easy. Here's the method you should use. Here's a type of posting you should be doing. For some authors, they would teach them how to use the platform. I've had authors come to me who didn't have a Twitter account set up, so I went through step by step how to set it up, how to tweet, that kind of information. For other authors, if it is promotional, I will put up promotional posts, because that's not personal. So if an author says, okay, you put this blog post up for me, can you, make 3 tweets about it and add it to my feed, and I can do that. I've even had some authors, they were going on vacation, so they just let their audience know, I'm going to be gone for this convention for a week, and my assistant's going to be on here to entertain you. So I would post, under the author's name, but with my name attached, so that the readers knew who it was coming from.
Oh, that's cool. I like it when I see that. Anne Rice does that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, because, it's a way for us to kind of get connected and to the readers, and that can help us better serve the authors. And it keeps the readers, engaged when you might not be at all available to get online.
Great. Well, can you give us your website, so if any authors want to sign up to your newsletter you mentioned before,
yes,
and any links to your training?
So all of that information can actually be found on my website. It's katetilton.com. So KATETILTON.com. So you can find links to my book blogger group. You can find information about Kate Chat. You can sign up for my newsletter. And you can find out all about my services all on that website.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kate, and for joining us.
Thank you for having me.